Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Fridays with a Forester, March 22nd, 2024. Stocking first aid kits, what to bring into the woods is our topic today. Your webinar host is myself, Gary Wyatt, Extension Educator with the forestry team at the University of Minnesota Extension, based out of our Mankato Regional Office. Lauren Backus is our regional support staff at Andover, and she's been monitoring our webinars, Fridays with a Forester, all season. Thank you, Lauren. Today's topic and speaker is Stocking First Aid Kits, What to Bring into the Woods by Lane Mosier. He's our education program specialist with Sustainable Forest Educational Cooperative program at the University of Minnesota. His email is there on the screen, and I'll show this slide again later on after his talk. And then also the website for the Sustainable Forest Educational Cooperative is there too, if you're interested in that program. Today's Zoom is a webinar, so we ask that you enter your questions into the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. We do try and keep our webinars till 10 o'clock, 1 hour. And if we do have some more questions at 10 o'clock, we can go over the 10 o'clock period. All of our webinars for Fridays with the Forester are recorded and posted on our YouTube website. Just simply a Z link, z.umn.edu/Fridays. We'll get to all of our Zooms that we have Fridays with the Forester. Actually, the last couple of years are on that webpage. Lane, I'm going to stop sharing, and you can start your activity. And Lane doesn't have any slides. He's going to show by hands, hands-on, right, Lane?
Yes, yeah. So you'll just have to look at my mug for a bit, and then I'll turn my camera down and we'll go through the kits. But thanks, Gary, and thanks for joining us this morning. As you said, I'm Lane Mosier. I'm a forester at the Sustainable Forest Education Cooperative. We work to deliver custom and locally relevant content to natural resource managers, so our audience is practitioners primarily, rather than the general public. And oftentimes we're in the woods, in remote areas, kind of far from advanced care. And so that's kind of where we are professionally. And then personally, whether I'm running a chainsaw at home and not far from advanced care, or shooting recreationally or things like that, I kind of realized I needed to be a little bit better equipped. And so with that, I guess my main caveat here is that I'm not a certified instructor. I have not been trained to train people. I've attended a wilderness first responder course, and I'm current on that. I've attended a wilderness first aid course in the past. Stop the bleed courses. Certainly got quite a lot of kind of that stop the bleed style content when I was in the Army. But beyond that, we'll be talking about these items I put in my first aid kits, and I think that aligns with a lot of folks that are hunting or just recreating in the woods as well that are on this call. We aren't going to be covering how to use the items that I'm talking about. I'll mention their use, but not provide that instruction. So this is hopefully giving folks some sideboards and some context of kind of this analysis paralysis, because the genesis of this and why I volunteered to give a talk today is because I spent quite a bit of time trying to sift through what to even put in a first aid kit. I bought one, a pre-built kit, and just threw it in the back, and it said vehicle first aid kit. So that told me, all right, well, that has everything I need. I threw it in the back of the car and then forgot about it for 2 years because we never really needed it. And so kind of shifting my course a bit, I realized there's kind of two benefits for me, at least, to creating a first aid kit yourself. And the first is the cost. I'll touch on that a little bit as I'm going through what I have in my kits here. But the benefit of kind of only paying for what you need and having enough of what you need, it seems like the cheaper you go for some of these pre-built first aid kits, the more Band-Aids you have, and the less other gear that you might really need in an emergency or something like that. Another benefit I found of creating a first aid kit is the familiarity. If you put it together yourself, you know what's in it, and you know where things are in the kit. And maybe that's not a big deal for a small kit, but if you're trying to describe to someone in probably in a stressful situation where to get something, it can be helpful to know exactly kind of what's there and where it is. So with that, I think we're just going to dive into some kits. So I'm going to turn off my camera and fiddle with it a bit, and then hopefully when it turns back on, we'll just show my table here, and we can get working through these first aid kits. So just a moment here. Thanks. All right. Okay, great. Move my keyboard here. So I have 3 levels of first aid kits. This is a personal one. As I said, I shoot recreationally, so whenever I'm out in the woods, whether you're hunting or at a range or on public land or wherever, I have this kind of personal first aid kit. So that's where we'll start. I'll be going over this personal first aid kit, a vehicle first aid kit, and then kind of a family one that I might bring when I'm going hiking with my boys or what have you. So the key here that I've found is that because this is so small, right? This is what, about 6x4, give or take. It's light, it's small, it's compact, it's convenient is the most important part. Because if it's inconvenient or if it's a chore, and I just say, oh, I'm not going to be going far from the truck, I won't be going far from the house, I'll just I just don't want to carry it. Then you're defeating the purpose of that. So this is on my belt. Again, if you have the capacity to create holes, then you better also have the capacity to plug holes. That's just, I think, a good part of safety around firearms and other things. So this also works for running a chainsaw. I'll talk about maybe some overlap there, but again, if you're alone in the woods, this is kind of the simplest thing. So there's on my belt, there's a little pouch which I don't have here. That surrounds this, and then on top of that is where the tourniquet is strapped. So this tourniquet is very readily accessible, and tourniquets are great for stopping the bleed on extremities. And whether you're shooting or running a chainsaw or really doing anything in the woods that is a bit more intense than walking, I would highly recommend having these. You can they're pretty robust, and especially when we get to the vehicle first aid kit, this sort of stuff, it's kind of the bare minimum of things for stopping the bleed. So opening this kit. All right. So I have a few things, and I think this might be mirrored, but so I have an emergency trauma dressing from North American Rescue. I also have some gauze. So this is compressed gauze. It's S-folded. That's great for wound packing, whether of course, everyone using a chainsaw would be wearing chaps as well, but if that drops into your leg or something, and this is what you could use to pack that. I have some gloves. These are wrapped up. I'll explain that in a different context later, but this was part of kind of a kit that I cobbled together and spread it out. But these gloves are important just to protect yourself and protect whoever might be needing that aid that you're applying. I have a 1-inch roll of silk tape. This is really great. It doesn't work as well if your skin is wet. So, but it's really versatile, and having this silk tape is beneficial. Again, as we scale up the kits, I'll talk about some of the other different kinds of tape. Another piece of gauze, sterile gauze. Gauze in a lot of different forms is, I think, really beneficial. It's just so flexible, and it's important to have it in these different shapes and sizes and contents and formats. So again, we have for example, the S-fold gauze for one purpose. We have this trauma dressing to apply pressure, and then the gauze. Now, one thing, if you're running an aid kit or if you're running a chainsaw, you do not need a chest seal, in my opinion. But if you are, again, if you're hunting or shooting or anything like that, this is important to have. And this is not unlike the individual first aid kits that folks are issued in the Army. So really just focused on stop the bleed here, rather than some of the other medical emergencies that could happen. So that's my personal first aid kit that is with me at all times. When I'm running a chainsaw, I'll have this, and I will have opening up another aid kit here, and here it is. I'll have what's called an Olaes bandage, OLAES. I know that's mirrored here, but when I'm running a chainsaw, I have these just kind of roughly taped together and hanging from my chainsaw chaps. I don't have a good kit for that, but this is kind of the between these two, I feel pretty equipped to deal with anything that might cause me to be losing blood, because this is great for kind of the more awkward injuries. So the tourniquet's great for extremities, but this is kind of for everywhere else. And it's really versatile. And again, just having that on hand and nearby can be really beneficial. So moving on, kind of moving up, I have a vehicle first aid kit, and this one's a little bit bigger. And this is one that lives in my truck. I also built one for my wife's car, and so these are very similar. So I guess we'll just kind of work our way down here. So I have some medicine. I have ibuprofen. I have, and again, I know this is mirrored, ibuprofen. I used, going back to the cost piece, I just got these little jeweler's bags. They're kind of these robust Ziploc bags that are small. And then I just went to, you can get them at Aldi's or Menards or anywhere, generic ibuprofen and acetaminophen. I don't really think that you need to pay for the name brand. My understanding is that they are as effective. I think there's some studies that back that up, but again, you just a $2 or $3 bag, bottle of some of this medicine, and then pouring it into a little bag here. So I wrote here on the silk tape, ibu, short for ibuprofen, and perhaps most importantly, the strength of it. So if someone else is using this, we need to make sure that they're tracking how much it is there, because you certainly don't want to have too much. As I said, I have 2 young boys, and so I just have this chewable painkiller for when we're on a road trip and their molar is coming in, which is why I don't have the full pack. I have used this. But if you have kids, I think that could be something, again, and maybe even just kind of the placebo effect or the like. But sometimes when you're on the road and they're fussing, it can feel like a long time. I have diphenhydramine. This is a 25 milligram dose. This is the generic version, the generic version of Benadryl. And so this is beneficial for allergies, and if you have an allergy to bees or if any reason that you might need to carry an EpiPen, should also have this because the EpiPen takes some kind of is the initial boost, and then you'll want to have some of this Benadryl as on your way to the higher care. Loperamide, or the generic brand of Imodium, antidiuretic. This can just be very beneficial, and so I just have a little bit of that, but that can be handy. And then I have aspirin, and lastly, acetaminophen. So I have a range of these, and again, you can just get all of these in almost all of them really in generic brands at Walmart. It's a couple of bucks a bottle. That can be really beneficial. Rather than in some of these pre-built kits, you'll get some of these medicine in blister packs, and so you're paying for lower quantity and more space that they take up. And I really just think, with a cost perspective, if the cost is an issue and you don't fully build out the aid kit, then you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure. And then the whole point is making this accessible, so that you have the care on hand. And then in here, I have a wide variety of Band-Aids of different sizes. Again, these are just like the plain ones. You can get them the Great Value brand or the Up and Up or whatever Target's generic brand is. Pretty straightforward here. Again, with two young boys, we're pretty fast and loose with Band-Aids in our household. For anything, even something that doesn't break the skin might still get a Band-Aid. But the benefit here is that I can get a whole box of these for pretty cheap and then just stock it in my kits as I need, rather than paying for a set quantity. And then part of the benefits of these is just buying in what amounts to bulk, right? Kind of a larger box, and then breaking it out into these containers, and then you can restock it over time. Kind of moving down the line here, I have a flashlight because I don't always have, just in case I don't have my phone, but this can be really handy as well. This was, I think, $4 at Menards. It doesn't have to be some tactical black aircraft grade aluminum thing. It's going to live in the kit. I check it every probably 6 months or so to make sure that it's not corroding and still works or anything. But again, if it doesn't need to be something really expensive and fancy, since it's just going to live in this aid kit and it doesn't need to be bulletproof. I also have a gauze roll. My keyboard a bit further here. I also have this gauze roll. So going back to gauze of all sorts in different formats. This is great. It's about 4 yards of gauze, and I mean, even just, I think, thinking in movies or if folks have taken a first aid course, it can be really handy just to wrap it around a limb or what have you. But gauze is really flexible. And so I have that. I have some Coben tape here. So this sticks to itself. You can even reuse it if it doesn't get too dirty. But it's great for securing splints or just in general. And again, where did I put my... Again, so we have the silk tape, which I don't have in this aid kit here, as one kind of format of tape, and then this, which is really robust and sticks to darn near everything. So having the right tool for the job there. Underneath here, I have, again, that Olaes bandage, Olaes. Maybe there's a better way to pronounce it, but again, kind of the sibling to, or I'll say companion to the tourniquet. The different use cases, certainly, but still really helps with the flexibility of being able to deal with whatever is coming your way. And so this has a little cup to help apply pressure, but there is also these are just really versatile in general, and I think they're really important. All right. And then kind of working our way down. So earlier I had that nice neatly wrapped pair of North American Rescue gloves. These are 7 mil thickness gloves from Harbor Freight. I got on sale. You can get them for, I think, for about $6 for 50. If you get the 5 mil kind, a little bit thinner, those work just as well. And you can get 100 for like $6 or so. These are great because these two just kind of live in here. Again, this is for protecting yourself and protecting who you're working on too, just kind of keeping things separate. But the great part is that you can also use these gloves for like the rest of the box for cleaning or whatever you might use them for around the house, or working on a vehicle or oil change, whatever. And then you just have these couple that are there. And so you're not paying a premium for them to neatly wrap the gloves for you. And this is just a rubber band that wrapped these up. And I've got a couple of them. A tourniquet, I've already gone over. It's staged. There's ways to stage tourniquets so that they're just available for quick use. So that's here. I have some more S-rolled gauze. Let me shift this down here. I have some more S-rolled gauze. Again, from North American Rescue. I also have, you can get a whole box of these on Amazon or other vendors. This is just another gauze kind of format, 4 inches by 4 inches. You can cut it up into smaller squares. You can ball it up and use it as a way to apply pressure. There's a lot of different uses for these. And again, thinking about multiple formats of gauze just to have that. And I have a few of these sheets. These are different brands. Again, I just kind of tried to consolidate things, but I have, again, it doesn't take up much space. It's pretty thin, and it's just good to have. We'll get to that in a moment here. I have some bacitracin. See with that light there. Sorry, some bacitracin or Neosporin. So this is the generic brand of Neosporin. Again, with little kids, I am including this. If I didn't have little kids who seem to perpetually just generate little cuts and scrapes, I probably wouldn't include this. I think it's really just for the superficial, like little things. So there's a pretty decent argument, I think, from other folks that you might not need this for little kids, unless you have little kids that seem to just perpetually have some little cut or scrape. This is very, maybe we'll pull it the other way. Luckily, if you don't need to access this thing in a hurry. So this is a 20 milliliter capacity syringe. And so the benefit here, again, if you're going to be in the woods, there's a very good chance that whatever caused you to be injured or to be even reaching for a first aid kit has dirt and sticks in it. Whether you're like me and you're mountain biking and your shoulder catches an overhanging tree, or I mean, falling or road rash, getting dirt and wounds when you're outdoors is pretty common. And so using a syringe to irrigate that and just kind of flush out some of the junk is a really important part of staying clean, because you don't want to bandage over a wound that is that is really messy. So that's what that is for. A triangular bandage. I mean, this goes back to this is centuries here. Really flexible. You can use it as a splint, as a way to as another tie down, whether you're tying something off or a sling. These triangle bandages are really flexible, really compact too. Doesn't take up a whole lot of space. And again, if you're in the woods, there's probably have a higher chance of needing to set a bone or something like that. And that's but these are just really flexible and I think really handy to have on hand. And I also have a thermal blanket or a space blanket. So if someone needs to conserve heat, this is really compact, but it folds out to, what are the dimensions on this one? 52 inches by 82 inches. So this is a lot. Really thin material, but helps keep heat in, and yeah, waterproof and windproof, really handy. So I have one of those. Let's see, is there anything else I'm forgetting here? So there's multiple, this is not an advertisement for Longleaf. That's just, I already paid for this guide when I got my Wilderness First Responder course. There's multiple outdoor first aid classes, Longleaf, Knowles, quite a few others. There's no shortage here. But this is kind of once I mean, worst case scenario here, you've stopped the bleed, you can kind of take a second to calm down, and if you need a reference or anything like that, or even whether it's me or I'm directing someone to do something or apply care or the like, this is just a handy reference. Compact, has kind of allows you to check your math, check your homework, and make sure that you're taking care of someone the right way. But this is just handy in general, and it's pretty compact. So any sort of field medicine, wilderness medicine guide, whatever size or company, I think is handy. So this is my vehicle first aid kit, and I think if you come away with nothing else from this, I would really recommend getting putting together a vehicle first aid kit. Even if you're not going to have the personal aid kit, right, that I had off to the side here, this green one, at least having building out a vehicle first aid kit, throw it in your car or your truck, because presumably it goes where you go. So at least you only have to get back to your vehicle if you don't have a personal aid kit. And I think you're much more likely to use some aspect of it than in many cases. So just given the nature of vehicles and coming across someone that may need help on the side of the road or the like. So that's the vehicle first aid kit. This bag was kind of I think $13 on Amazon. Pretty cheap. There's everything has MOLLE and is Velcro and tactical, and oh, there's my mouse. And all that. For a vehicle first aid kit, it's not going to be in the elements. It's going to live in your vehicle. I wouldn't throw it in the back of your truck. I might throw it in behind a seat or something. But it doesn't need to be this really fancy ripstop military grade Kevlar Cordura blend. Just something to keep it together. And I keep mine strapped to a panel on my truck. It's easy to access. Anyone, I mean, you know exactly what it's for, and you don't need to shell out money for something, right? That's not going to really be tested, right? The fabric isn't going to be put through its paces. All right. So with that, I'm just clearing off my desk here. With that, so having just said that, this is a more robust field or first aid kit. And this is, in contrast to what I just said, this is my family first aid kit. It has quite a bit of things, and we'll get through that. But this bag is much more robust. It's going to live outside of my backpack. It's going to be around my waist or slung while I'm in the woods. And so I wanted it to be a bit more robust. So with that in mind, I did spend a bit more on this. This is Mystery Ranch. There are all sorts. If you just look up different tactical medicine bags, that's a pretty good starting point because those are designed to kind of take a beating. Again, avoiding some of the marketing gimmicks, but by and large, sort of tac medicine style bags might be a good leaping off point if you want something that is going to be out exposed to the elements and kind of on the outside of your bag. Again, if it's just going to live in your backpack instead, so maybe taking the vehicle first aid kit and just carrying that with you when you're hiking or hunting, then it doesn't need to be this bulletproof material. So again, just thinking about your use case, that's the important part and something that I kind of motivated me to learn more about this because it's sifting through all of these opinions that folks have about gear. And of course, it's fun and, well, fun here in air quotes to constantly be arguing about gear. And again, yeah, I see that link for Mystery Ranch. There's a whole variety of bags that and companies that offer this stuff. But this was just one that fit me and fit the use case. So I guess we'll start on the side here. I have two tourniquets here. So if I have this on my person, on top of the vehicle, it's I've got an abundance of tourniquets, but again, these are just so versatile and maybe it's just my from the time of the Army. These are just very handy to have. They're compact and can really save someone's life. I have some hydrogen peroxide in kind of this robust bottle. I think I got a dozen of them for maybe $8. But any sort of container will do. I have hydrogen peroxide just as a disinfectant. This is something I need to keep topped up, but I think it's like $3 at Walmart to get a whole jug of this. And so I just kind of consolidate it here again for that road rash or the like. So it can be handy to have that disinfectant. Again, wound packing gauze, so some more S-folded gauze. this kind of roughly is urgent stop the bleed style stuff, and then some hydrogen peroxide, just because I was running out of space in this thing. It barely closes. Moving to the middle here, I have a roll of that silk tape, and kind of scaling up from my vehicle aid kit and my personal aid kit, I have some moleskin. So for blisters, this is we've already used quite a bit. This is probably what I would use the most out of anything in this kit, and that's why again, if you're in the woods, it can just be nice to have this on hand, right? Because if you're wearing boots, you're sliding around if they're wet, or the like. Again, some Coben wrap, the really sticky wrap that sticks to itself, can be used for using tying up splints, securing things to other things, really versatile here. In the top, I have 2 rolls of this crinkle gauze, that 4 yards of rolled gauze. So pretty handy there. And then, so kind of working our way down, I have another emergency trauma dressing from North American Rescue. Again, just another way of controlling bleeding and applying pressure. I have another roll or tube of bacitracin. So this is up and up. No point in paying for the Neosporin, in my opinion. And maybe there's some strong opinions about generic versus name brand, but for my use case and my tax bracket, this is what we're working with. More gauze sponges. Again, this was a whole container, so I'm able to, with 1 box of these sponges, and I still have some in the basement somewhere. I'm able to stock all of my first aid kits, right? My wife's vehicle aid kit, my vehicle aid kit, and then this family kit with some of these gauze sponges. I have multiple splints or triangular bandages, again, these go back to the Napoleonic Wars, and just a triangle bandage that are really handy to have, really versatile, and can be used in a few different ways. A tick remover. I have a Leatherman, and that's usually sufficient, but this is just nice to have the tool. This was something I kind of splurged on. I think it was like $7 or $8, but this was something I got. I think a Leatherman works just fine if you know how to pull out a tick, and it isn't too far embedded, but this can be handy. But again, this is something that is kind of on the bubble of whether it could be included or not. Because again, if you have pliers or tweezers, and you kind of know what you're doing to pull the tick out, then and not popping it, then that's sufficient. So petroleum jelly or Vaseline, big jar of this or a tube of this. This is really versatile. It can be a kind of a layer between a wound and some bandaging to prevent chafing, or you can use it for dry and cracked hands, or really anything. This can just be handy. My older son has eczema, and so this was also a pretty easy choice if we're in the woods or camping, spending a night, and we don't have access to the apothecary's chest of eczema lotions that we have. And then kind of folding this back here, I'll just take all of this out at once. Tweezers are really handy. I guess I could probably take this out of the packaging, but again, used in concert with the syringe for irrigating. So you'll use the tweezers to get the bigger items out, and then kind of flush out the rest with the syringe, and then you can just handy for cleaning, getting bits of stick or mud, just junk out of a wound to help clean it. Another guide. Again, many wilderness medicine field guides exist, many different brands and organizations. I have 2 kinds of thermal blankets. I got this one as a gift, I think. And so either way, these 2 more of these little space blankets. Again, really handy for keeping out heat, waterproof, windproof, shelter in a pinch. And so I have a couple of those. Forceps. These are handy. They're locking. It can just be handy if you are trying to pull something or hold something shut, and if you don't have a second pair of hands or the like. But yeah, so these are certainly ones that I would ensure that I include. Then here, kind of shifting a bit, are some SAM splints. These are awesome. They are fun to play with, but they are also fun to or really handy in a pinch. So you can fold them different ways to support a limb that has some sort of fracture or the like, and then you can secure it with tape. You can put some clothes in here and kind of secure a broken limb. So I actually cut this one in half. They come in, I think, 36 inches. There's maybe a few different lengths. I cut this one in half just so it would fit. So I have two. And so you can use your trauma shears, which I'll get to in a moment, if you need to turn one SAM splint into two. They also fold really flat, so they can be stored that way. Just for this, trying to squeeze as much as I can into this bag. This is what I went with. But so these are SAM splints. It's essentially just aluminum wrapped in foam. And yeah, I see that Lauren put the link there. But and I think, and let me actually, that's a good point. So in particular for tourniquets, there's a price point that is a good leaping off point because of the nature of, just use this one that's already out, because of the nature of tourniquets. They're under a lot of pressure, and it's if you are seeing a deal on Amazon of like maybe like 4 for 30 or something, that's probably not a good choice. This is one of the only cases, maybe there's others, but off the top of my head, I think that if you come away with nothing else, this is one of the only cases where like a tourniquet is about $30. And the further you get from $30, the cheaper it gets, the more suspect I would be. Again, folks that are much more qualified at teaching can talk about the differences, right? There's certain features you want to look at, but these are under a lot of pressure. And we've seen footage from Ukraine of folks that are using cheap tourniquets and they end up breaking because of the pressure that they're under. And then you have to put on another one. And of course, you've just wasted time and fluid. So yeah, you could certainly get them from Amazon. I would get them from a reputable, like a tactical medicine style place. Yeah, North American Rescue was a good choice. Others exist, certainly not only plug in them, but the price point for tourniquets should be about maybe 29 to 32 bucks. And I would be pretty suspicious if tourniquets are getting much cheaper than that because yeah, I guess I won't beat that dead horse. So what else are we thinking here? So I mentioned my trauma shears, so kind of shifting this, I have some trauma shears. This is great just for exposing the wound or whatever you're looking at. Many options exist. I think you can get these pretty cheap, and it's really just the shape and the physics of them. But you can certainly go up to like the Leatherman price point and get some really fancy ones. But by and large, you're just looking for, again, you can use this to cut up a SAM splint. You can use it to, if you're bored, these are strong enough and you want to trash them, you can cut a penny with them. I mean, these are really strong and with that leverage. So just handy to kind of expose the wound or to get through layers of clothing to get to whatever is causing someone some pain. So I have these. I don't know if I showed it in my vehicle aid kit, but I do also have some in the aid kit. And that reminds me too, I also have in all of these kits, in the vehicle first aid kit and what should be in this one, but currently isn't because I took it out, is a knife. I have a knife in that aid kit or next to it in my truck. Knives are just handy in general if you're in the woods. I don't know if I need to stay on that topic for too long because I think most of the folks appreciate how handy one can be when you're outdoors. But and then another thing, I think I maybe knocked it over. Let's see here. Oh, here it is. Flashlight. This is just kind of a different format because it was marginally cheaper at the time at Menards. Any flashlight will do. It just helps to see what you're doing. I kind of liked this one at the time because it can stand up sort of on its own. It's magnetic, but really, you could just raid that aisle of Menards right next to the checkout and grab a cheap flashlight that can live in here and make sure that it works as you're updating and upkeeping your kits. And lastly, I have, again, kind of the same thing in my kit, but more of it. So the medicines I talked about earlier, the antidiuretic, Benadryl, painkillers, aspirin, children's strength, chewable, acetaminophen. This is just in a little baggie, a little container just to keep that all together, make it easier to access. And then more Band-Aids. Again, this was just like a variety pack of Band-Aids, and it was able to fill out all 3 of my kits that have them, and I still have so many more left over, which is good because we go through. In fact, we did have quite a few of the smaller size Band-Aids, but again, we're pretty fast and loose with those in our household. And then a variety of gloves. I think the only reason I don't have a 4th here is because I got frustrated and didn't want to wrestle with the elastic, but you can't really have too many of them. I mean, it's ideally you'd be using a new one if there's multiple situations where you would need to look after someone, but gloves are just nice. Again, this is a nice little fancy pre-wrapped one from a cannibalized North American Rescue Kit. Just go to Harbor Freight, go to Menards, wherever, get some of these disposable gloves. And then in the meantime, you can use them when you're changing the oil on your car or something like that. So I think with that, that's everything I wanted to get to. So I'll turn off my video and straighten out my webcam and then hop back on here. So
Super, Lane. Wonderful information. It reminds me to put my first aid kit from the shop back into the vehicle that I took out a couple of months ago to clean it or something. Holy cow. Yeah, we've got lots of questions. Lauren, you want to start with the questions, please?
Yep. I think one of the big ones is basically like, do you have a shopping list and can they get like a list of what's in each kit?
yes, I do have, I don't have the source for it. I copied it over. Sorry, let me get my keyboard back here so I can copy and paste it. Can I paste things in chat here? Would that work
Yep.
or have a
Yep,
resource?
you can paste things in chat. Just make sure it's to everyone.
Okay.
And then also, Lane, we are posting information and links on the recorded site at the YouTube site. Lauren is working on that. And I just emailed all the speakers for this year's Fridays with a Forester. So we'll be also linking some of their information from the previous speakers and the speakers to come, information websites that people can learn more about the topic.
Sure. So maybe it's just a character limit. I can't paste it in here. Maybe I'll try to break this up. Oh, there we go. Okay, so I'll just, this is kind of clunky. I'll try to just paste it in order here before the message gets broken up. So what I just pasted in the chat is kind of a descending order of importance. And so you can kind of take the top handful of items and think about that as your personal first aid kit, right? Something you'll take hunting, something you'll take if you're running a saw, right? So tourniquet, pressure dressing, Z-fold gauze for wound packing. That Coben roll is the tape. That's that really sticky tape, not the silk tape. Trauma shears, medicine, and then just kind of building it out from there. As far as what's in the individual ones, I can type that up and maybe host that or put it on a Google Doc or a Word doc and then pass that on to y'all if that would work. And this is kind of cobbled together. There's a couple of resources I found. I know REI has a first aid kit list, and I can paste that link in the chat here if that's all right. So that's that REI link, and the CDC actually has a pretty good first aid kit list as well. So I just pasted that in. And there's, again, it's you ask 5 different professionals, you'll get probably 15 different opinions, which is maddening. But that's what works for me. And ultimately, it goes back to your use case. Think about what you'd need, and then ultimately, this decision gets a lot easier of what to put in an aid kit once you actually take the training. So at a minimum, take a CPR course, take a stop the bleed course, and then you can kind of work your way up to like wilderness first aid, and then wilderness first responder is kind of that rough level. Because then once you've worked with some of these things and know how to use them, then you think, okay, this will be important for me. And then you can also pick the brains of the instructors. So really long-winded answer there, but hopefully that resources I pasted in chat help.
There will be a survey at the very end of the webinar. If you want to sign up for future communication, you can add your email, and we can also like send the list of items that way as well. And then let's see here. There's definitely a lot of questions here. Somebody missed something about the vent thing.
Oh, that was this, the hype. Oh, well, sorry, I lowered it on so the hyphen vent. So this is a chest seal. Again, this is not something I would be attached to if I were only running a chainsaw. Like I said, I shoot recreationally. If you are around firearms at all, then you need this, in my personal opinion. Yeah, it's really important that you're also able to plug holes instead of just create them. So that was a chest seal. That's another one where I probably wouldn't get a generic or something from Amazon. Amazon is good for Band-Aids and gauze and things like that, but I would get the chest seal from a reputable place. North American Rescue is one, but there are so many. I don't want to just be plugging one company. But yeah. So that was the hyphen vent chest seal. Comes in a twin pack.
And then somebody's asking, what was the yellow vacuum sealed bag for the chainsaw kit?
So that was the Olaeus bandage. So OLAES bandage. And so this a tourniquet and this is I just kind of loosely tape them together and then hang it from my chainsaw chaps. If there's probably a better system, but it works for me. So the tourniquet is for your extremities. But again, take a stop the bleed course so you know when to use one and how. And then the modular bandage is the Olaeus bandage is great for kind of everywhere else. It's really versatile. There's a lot of different ways that you can use it, but it's for kind of those more awkward spots that won't fit a tourniquet. But it applies pressure with this cup. Maybe you can see it. So there's this cup that essentially kind of localizes the pressure. But in a pinch, you can also use folded up gauze or things like that to apply pressure directly on a wound.
And these two questions kind of go together. So somebody's asking about like the little bags where like, would you get something like that to put medicine in? And then the other question is like, what suggestions do you have for like containers for the kits or like what to put everything in?
Sure. So I'll start with where did I just put them? So these little Ziploc bags, I don't think they're sterile, but I didn't really have a better option otherwise. Because if you think about, you're never going to need a whole jar of acetaminophen, right? Things have gone horribly wrong if you're going through a whole jar of that in one sitting before restocking your aid kit. So these were, I think they're called jewelry bags or beading bags, like just a small Ziploc. I would get a thicker gauge plastic. So that maybe that'll be in the product description or the like. I would get something a little bit thicker, again, just so it doesn't break while you're lugging your aid kit out in the woods or whatever. That's just annoying. And then then you've got pills all over. But I would so I just use these little Ziploc bags. As for oops, so as for this, my personal one, this fits on my belt. This was a little bit more expensive again because it's like kind of on my outside, and it's gonna be like as I'm running around and doing stuff, it's going to be exposed to the sun and exposed to elements. So I shelled out a little bit more for this container, but you don't have to. Where did I put it? For this vehicle aid kit, right here, again, I think this was 13 bucks on Amazon. It doesn't need to be this MOLLE is superfluous. These little straps, everything has it now just because of, I guess, whatever. I don't think it's necessary. You just need a little bag. And ideally, I mean, in case there's any doubt, there's even a little plus sign here. So, but by and large, just a simple bag. You could also, I mean, some of this fits in a fanny pack. There's no point in shelling out money for some of the stuff that's just going to live in your vehicle. And it certainly doesn't need to be all tactical and cool and Kevlar coated, like just something simple and accessible. So hopefully that answers that second question.
Yep. And then where can you get a 20 milliliter syringe and a triangular bandage?
So I think I got these from Amazon, and actually I think I got really most of this from Amazon. A triangular bandage, again, it's not sterile, so I'm not really too concerned. It's really just cloth. I mean, you can almost just make one of these yourself. It's just 100%, I'm showing it, but I think the lighting's off. 100% cotton, 40 inches by 40 inches by 56 inches. It has some safety pins in it too. I think that's an important part. I don't know if that's included on my, oh no, that's on the list. But yeah, I got these from Amazon. Yeah, I probably wouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it worked for foot soldiers in the early 1800s, so you probably don't need to get some sort of fancy veteran only style triangular bandage. Just get something simple. But yeah, from Amazon, and that was a 20 milliliter syringe.
And then do you worry about like heat, cold, since we get extremes of both in Minnesota?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have the space blankets right here. So it's I think you can even kind of see it. So that's kind of the interior to help keep heat in. I don't have much beyond that, beyond the space blankets in my aid kits. That's something that I would pack in a backpack. In my cruiser vest, when I'm out in the woods, I have a little pouch on the back, and that's where I'll put extra layers for the cold, for the heat. I think that's I would just take a wilderness first aid course and learn about how to remedy that, because there's not really space in my kits. These are already kind of bursting at the seams. But yeah.
I think the other part of that is like with the bastration, like would that freeze or get too hot or like some of the contents in it, would
Sure,
that be affected?
I see. So you could just warm it up with your hand if it gets too cold. If it's too hot, one thing I have noticed actually, I'm looking for the hydrogen peroxide. I used to have hydrogen peroxide in a little jar in my first aid kit in my vehicle, but it leaked out. So maybe that's not a temperature thing. I think that might just be user error. But that does I don't know that it would be too that things getting too hot or too cold would affect their use. I think, yeah, just using your hand to kind of thaw out the bacitracin or the Vaseline or what have you. But
And then are your sealed packages peel open or do you need a scissors to use to open the items?
They are all peel open. So like here for the chest seal, for example, it's perforated here, and that's just rip. For the gauze here, again, this was like the crinkle, the roll of gauze, again from Amazon, peeled open right here. Just kind of. But yeah, everything is hand open. Yeah, my North American Rescue ETD, emergency trauma dressing there. And for yeah, so it's all, you wouldn't need scissors for any of these. I'm not sure about like folks with different ability or hand strength or things like that. I don't think that would I think they're all designed to be open pretty easily, but like for folks with arthritis or other things, I think or other injuries, I think you still should be able to open them. They seem to be pretty accessible that way.
And then there's a few comments here. Somebody mentioned keeping matches to start a fire in the kit, as well as Vaseline and cotton balls apparently are easy to start a fire.
Yes, yeah, that's certainly stuff that I have in a backpack or the like if I'm camping. I think Bic lighters are also awesome. I mean, they're bulletproof really. And but yeah, I think that's to me beyond like the kits again, because space is a premium for these. And also yeah, up to a point, if you're loading too much stuff into your kit and it becomes less convenient to carry at places, then again it's just kind of, well, what am I doing this? But and yeah, I see Angie's comment too. Yeah, I still have the bottles. I filled out these kits all from just kind of a couple bottles. And so I have those. And of course, that only lasts, I think, a year based on them just trying to get rid of old stock. But of course, you can use them in the interim when you aren't in like an emergency situation. If you're just hungover or something, you can still access those bottles regardless. So yeah, I think making sure that I think that's the only thing that I'd be really worried about expiring. I think, I mean, all of these other things that are sealed or the like, I think the hydrogen peroxide going bad, you have to replace it every, I think, 6 months or less. But again, it's $3 for a big bottle and you're only carrying a little bit at a time. But yeah.
And somebody mentioned they like to include a sting kit also in their kit.
Yes, so I'm really, whoever mentioned that, that's great. So we don't have any allergies, or at least allergies to bees in my family. But if that is certainly something that again, that would be your personal use case, and that is really important. So I'm glad whoever said that, because I don't have an EpiPen. If we did have any sort of anaphylaxis, then certainly we would be including an EpiPen in this, and that even makes the Benadryl or generic version, diphenhydramine, much more important too. So.
And then somebody said, let's see here, what to listen to when you are putting your first aid kit together. And then they have firstaidkitbandaid.com. So I'm guessing that's another resource. And
Or I
then,
think that's a band. I think First Aid Kit is a band.
oh, well, there you
Maybe.
go.
I like them. Good couple of
Cute.
singers out of Sweden.
And then somebody also looks like they commented, what a great kit. Guaranteed when my kids were small and went camping, they would wipe out on the gravel with their bikes. And as soon as we got there, tweezer syringe and large band-aids required. If we're doing backpack camping, we also bring rose water mixed with non-alcohol witch hazel in a spray bottle to cool burns. Then raw honey for when it is cooled down. Seems like someone is always going to burn themselves on something or spill hot oil at the farthest point in from the truck.
Yeah,
Maybe just the
that's
family's tough luck.
yeah, that's I think the benefit of the Vaseline or petroleum jelly too, to just kind of have a layer over a wound. And again, to fully use this, I really recommend folks take the trainings. I'm sort of alluding to the uses, and but this isn't a replacement for that. But that's one use for the petroleum jelly, to kind of act as a buffer between a bandage and a burn in particular, or other kind of sensitive areas.
Awesome. That's all the questions. So
Thank you, Lauren. Lane, this has been very educational. I love it. Let me get to the last slides here to share. We want to thank you, Lane, for presenting stocking first aid kits today. What to bring into the woods. Wonderful. This will be recorded and is being recorded. It'll be on the Z link, z.umn.edu/Fridays. And we have a few more lessons coming up here. Climate ready woods, emerald ash borer, and ticks and mosquitoes upcoming. So be aware of that. Also, Lauren mentioned as you leave the Zoom today, you'll be asked to do an evaluation. You're anonymous, and unless there's a question we just asked too, if you wanted your email there, so we can email you some correspondence of today's speaker or questions, and then also maybe for future Fridays with a Forester. So please share your comments about today's webinar on that evaluation as you leave. Again, the recordings are posted at z-link, z.umn.edu/Fridays. And then there's some also My Minnesota Woods websites there that you can join our newsletter, a monthly newsletter for My Minnesota Woods if you haven't already. Thank you for attending today's webinar, and we look forward to the next time. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Gary.
Thanks, Lane. And thanks, Angie and Emily and our team of Lauren and our forestry team for joining us.